if I add myself to the stage. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Code Break. How are y'all doing today? How are y'all feeling? How are you surviving? And all that fun stuff. I am on my third week of being at Foxit, and it's been just a fire hose of stuff going on. And a lot of it I can't really talk about just yet, but very soon. But it's wonderful to be very, very busy again. I like being busy. I like working. Imagine that. Um, this week is Father's Day on Sunday. And if you are a father in any way whatsoever, I hope you have a very good week. For those of you who know me, actually, for those of you who don't know me, I should say, I am the father of eight. And yes, you heard that right, eight. So all these bags under my eyes, that's because of that. Seven of my eight, they were adopted. That's how I created my family. That's how I became a father. So obviously, I am a firm believer in the blood not matter. It's the father role that matters, not the blood connection between y'all. And my eighth is my stepson. So I am a father in different ways, and I love it all. So um, looking forward to that day. Thursday, my wife and I are going to New Orleans to see the Head and the Heart, which is one of the bands that she introduced me to. And one of the nice things about being near New Orleans is that we get a lot of really good bands. It's a good 2.5 hour drive, but we're young enough, kind of, to do that after work and come back the same night and without being too exhausted. So busy week. And oh, we're excited to have you on your team. It's a good thing I didn't say anything I wasn't supposed to yet. I will endeavor. That's the hard thing about being in Devrel is that you always want to talk about all the cool stuff, right? And sometimes you can't talk about the cool stuff just yet. And Sue, lots of ties incoming. So you may find this hard to believe. I have one tie and I haven't worn it in probably 10 years. And I know last time I had to wear it, I had to find a YouTube video on how to tie it, and I spent maybe a half hour or so. I am I'm not pro tie. I don't mind dressing up. One of the many nice things my wife has introduced me to is like nicer shoes, nicer tops, ties. I just I no, I'm just not gonna do ties. So let's actually get into it because I want to talk about like a pre-tech topic before we get into the main tech topic. And let me share my screen because I realized I did not do that. And we're going to share the entire screen, and it's going to be this screen, and I'm just going to move this over right now like that before we get too crazy. And thank you, StreamYard, for handling things correctly. Um, so the pre-technical content is Postman Echo. Now I've used Postman for probably 10 years or so to test APIs. It's only excuse me, it's only in the last couple of years that I've really begun to see some of the more interesting, cooler parts of Postman. Like a lot of things, yeah, if you dig deeper into a product, you find cool stuff. Postman Echo is essentially an endpoint that you can test either GET, POST, or more type requests against, and you do send your network request to it. And all it does is echo back in JSON what you sent. So it will echo back form data, it will echo back headers you sent, it'll echo back everything. And the reason that I want to call this out, and excuse me, I just had lunch, I had something in my mouth. Probably TMI. I apologize. Um, the reason this is in my mind now is that twice in the last 2 weeks for two completely different APIs, I was struggling to get something working. and switching to Postman Echo kind of quickly showed me what I was doing wrong. Um, in both cases, it involved a post operation with a file, and in both cases, it needed something different. In one case, it was actually a bug in the language I was working with. The other case was me doing something slightly wrong with binary data. Uh, you know, no big surprise there that you had to be a bit precise, but cannot recommend this enough. And by this is not something that you have to sign up for. You literally just point crap at it, and you're good to go. So, Postman Echo. Now, the main meat of what I want to talk about today is building desktop apps. And if you were in the last two sessions, that's what I talked about. And when I first started talking about this, I mentioned how when I started development way back in the 1800s or so, desktop apps, like that was like the real development platform. When I was building for the web, it didn't necessarily feel like I was doing real code. Yeah, of course it was real, but I always thought desktop apps, that was where it was at. And it's been something that I've always thought of that it'd be kind of fun to build. What happened, fortunately, is that the web platform got so darn good over the last 10 or so years that desktop apps just don't really matter as much anymore. In fact, I really tend to think of desktop apps as a way to separate stuff that I may have in my browser anyway. So, for example, Google Chat, which you can see down here at the bottom, that is a web app, but I like to separate it so I have a kind of a mental separation between my browser and my chat. Uh, Same for like social media. I like to kind of box it away. So I don't necessarily feel the need to always build desktop apps, but it does interest me. So in the last two sessions, I worked with Tari, Tauri, and that was a Node. I'm sorry, that was a TypeScript slash JavaScript front end with Rust on the back end. Pretty sure it's Rust and not Go. Let's look it up, shall we? Tari desktop app. It is, yeah, it's Rust, right? I should know this. I literally, yeah, powered by Rust. So we played with that last time, and I was able to actually build an application. I was actually able to build an app on Windows, and oops, launched it a couple of times there. And you saw it showed up in my Windows Start menu. I created a build. I can say I was born on April 8th, 1973, and I'm a man. And it can tell me how many seconds left to live. So to be clear, 100%, this can be done on the web. I don't need to build a desktop app out of this, but it was fun. And that's what I do on the stream. I do fun things. So today we're going to do something related, but completely different because we're going to use a Python slash Flutter uh, project called Flet. Now, this is going to be really, really different. I have played with it a tiny bit before this session just to make sure it worked, etc. The whole way it does layout, it just everything about it is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to be learning this together. I'm also building in PowerShell and in my C directory, not Ubuntu under Windows subsystem for Linux. If you remember right, that actually worked. I could build a Ubuntu graphical desktop application, and Windows actually ran it on screen. But it was definitely a little bit slower and not what I was expecting. Like I wanted a Windows UI because I'm on Windows. So I am sticking to my C drive. I'm sticking to Windows. That's where we're going to work. I did have to install Python on here, and I am running Python version 3.314. And as always, y'all tell me if that is too small. I'm going to go ahead and proactively make this bigger and full screen. There we go. So I do have Python here, and let's let's actually scaffold. Let's go to the beginning, scaffold the quick application, and see this work. So we will skip the, no, we'll do the introduction. So according to this, I can create a simple counter app. So let's make a new folder here. I'll call it first, and I will follow their convention and make counter.py, and then just copy and paste it. By the way, if you're building any kind of developer documentation, make sure your code listing type thing supports a copy button. In fact, you know what? I say that. I don't think mine does. Let's see. I know I have code listings in here. I don't support that. So I am a bad guy. I will add that to my list of things to do. All right, so I copied this, and even just looking at this at first blush, we can see a couple of interesting things going on here. So first off, no HTML. I'm gonna skip here to the bottom. I can see where FT is probably going to be my Flet app, and it's going to run main. I have a title, and it's laying things out and creating controls. So this almost kind of reminds me of like when I built for iOS a decade or so ago. But you know, this all kind of reads very sensible. So I have a page, and I'm deciding on a vertical alignment. I am creating a text field. I can see value, alignment, width. I have two methods to handle clicks. And then I'm adding to my page an icon button, that text field, and another icon button plus. Yeah, so okay, like I said, I did play with this before, a couple weeks ago, actually. But just looking at this at first blush, this makes perfect sense. So I believe the command to run this after installing, I've already installed Flet, is just to run flet run counter.py. So let's see. I put that in first. So flet run counter.py, and please work because I'm live streaming. You worked earlier. Look at that. And so if I click, there we go, and I have a title. I believe this has hot reload. So if I were to go in here and let counter to say Python rules, and we will change the numbers. Wait, make it up, change the buttons to add and subtract 10 instead. So I'm saving it, and oh, that was darn quick. Again, I don't know how many of y'all attended my last presentation, but Tori had a reload, but it was slower. It was definitely slower under Ubuntu and a little bit quicker when I was doing native Windows. But this seems really fast. Let's test this. Let's take this over here and just see if I change the title, how quick it runs. There we go. All right, so it may not have been terribly clear on the live stream, but that was about 5 seconds. That's not bad at all. And I do want to verify that my logic changed there. And yeah, that's super easy. So let's build something. You know what? I could build Def Clock again. And for those who don't remember, 30 years ago, scary to say, I built a website called defclock.com where you would enter your birthday and it would, and your gender, and basically say men go to 72, women go to 78. What is today's date? When were you born? Subtract, convert to seconds, show it live. And that is the desktop application that I built in Tori. And we could try to build something similar in Flet. But let's actually maybe take our time and look a little bit at the documentation. Obviously, I'm not going to read it all because who reads all the documentation? Hello, Anmol. If I said your name incorrect, I apologize. I have already installed stuff, so I'm not too worried about that. I will say I have begun to kind of start using UV. It does some interesting things with Python dependency management and stuff like that. It's intriguing, and I've been kind of leaning on it more. I went with pip for this particular setup. Yesterday, I did a reinstall just because it was the first thing shown. But if you're like me, still kind of new to Python and kind of struggling sometimes with your dependencies and virtual environments and just getting like a good feel, a good groove in, I think UV is the way to go. So that being said, so we can create a new Flet app, say make a directory and switch to it and then do Flet create. So let's go crazy. Let's try this. We're going to say make dir def clock. We'll go into def clock, and that was Flet create. And let's see what it spits out. Let's see how long it takes. Let's see what it builds, etc. Okay, that was quick. I'm not even going to look at the code yet. Let's just run it. Probably says hello world if I had to assume. It is another counter one. All right. Let's actually get this bigger, close things up, and take a look at what it spits out. So it gives you a README, which is nice. And I see they're actually starting with UV in the README. Tells you how to build. You know what? I'm kind of curious. If you remember the build, wow, I have no idea what that is all about. You just go away, sir. All right. Let's actually build and see how long it takes. Let build Windows dash V. For Tori, it had to download some Visual Studio type dependencies. If Flet requires the same, I already have it, but let's just see. It's installing Flutter. I've been hearing of Flutter for years. I've never actually used it. All right, I'm going to let this run and keep looking at the code. It has a 2ML project file. I know what 2ML is. I have never really used this before, but it all kind of reads like what I would expect. And then we have a storage folder, interesting, with stuff in it. And we have a source folder. And main POI should look very similar to the first counter we did. Let's see, I have a page and I'm adding a container with a counter. And what is the counter? Counter was a text field, yep. And the floating action button is a thing that I saw that I clicked, duh. Yeah, okay. That kind of makes sense. So it's going to be kind of like an object-oriented type layout system, which will take me some time to wrap my head around, but we'll see. And so the build is still happening. I am assuming, by the way, so it says installing Flutter. I would imagine that in the next application, in theory, it should be a heck of a lot quicker. And that's the same thing I saw with Tori when I was doing the Visual Basic stuff. That first one took like I think 20 minutes on Windows, and then my next test was much quicker. Cool. All right, I will let you keep going, and let's actually. We already know how to run. Yep, Flet run will run main, and Flet run script will run a particular script. That makes sense. And run as a web app. Oh. Well, that should be interesting. Let's see how this is going. This is going to take a while. I am going to try in a different PowerShell window and see if I can do that. Python, nope, projects, Python. All right, let's try this again. Projects. Oh, I did make a Python folder. All right. Def clock and that command to run as a web app. Flet run web. Flet run dash dash web. See if that works. This is still the Windows build going on in here. The Windows that. Not sure. Oh, you know what? I was using a virtual environment for this window. You could see because of the .vnv there. Yeah, I have not been religious about doing the virtual environment type stuff, and I realize I should. Let me quickly look at how they are doing that. VNV. I believe there's no virtual environment in here. I am not going to spend too much time worrying about that. Yeah, I'm just not going to worry about it. No, actually, we should. We should worry about this. So I did create a new app. So why did you not do the VNVs type stuff? If you encounter error. Yeah, see, so mine is running in that shell, and I'm not sure it would have worked if I had done this just by scratch. So that kind of worries me. Let's get back up. Let's get back up and see. Create a new Flet environment. Yeah, that's what I should have done. Yep. All right. So let's make this work. Let's not be lazy. So Python minus m. I literally just lost. There you go. vnv.vnv. So that's setting up the virtual environment. Don't know why Python is going so slow for me today. Normally it's pretty fast. And oh, it failed to build the Windows app, but it's doing something. Running a Flutter Docker where you do that. And then we will source bin activate. Oh no, I'm not in Ubuntu. I need to go to VNV bin activate. Oh, nothing is working for me today. Oh, because it's scripts. Activate. All right, now I'm in the virtual environment. So now if I try to run it as a web app, voila. No module name Flet desktop. Let us do it. Let's do every step by step and not take the easy way out. Yes, okay, this makes sense because I had done this on the other shell. I had the virtual environment. I did not have it set up here in this project. This for sure is going to work. And I am not going to worry about building out the Windows application. I will see real quick if I could figure out what it's complaining about. See the log of the failed command above. Unable to find suitable Visual Studio tool chain. That's interesting because I went through this with Tori and I got it working. We can diagnose that later. So now I do Flet run web. I've installed all my dependencies and then bam. And that is the application. And we can see if we have hot reload. Where are we? Def clock, main.py. I do wonder where like the desktop title is. Oh, let's take that from our first example, page.title. That was easy enough. So page.title is, will this work on the web? And I will not typo. save it. And oh yeah, it did. In case that's a little bit hard to see on screen there, at the very top, title updated. So that's actually really darn cool that I could preview here as well. All right, so that was running. That took a little bit longer than I thought, which is all right. Hot reload is on by default. And we could tweak that. I don't see myself tweaking that ever. Let's look at Flet controls. So user interface or meta controls, aka widgets. They must be added to a page or inside other controls. That makes sense. Page is a top level control, and you nest things inside, and they are regular Python classes. Yep, this all makes sense. And you can see there, they're making a new text control, and they're just appending it to a controls property. I feel like they do it a little bit simpler. There's the counter. Yeah, there's page.add right there. Okay. And there we go. So page.add is a shortcut for appending to the controls property. Makes sense. Some controls are container controls, like a page, which contain other ones. So row allows doing things. Yeah, so let's actually play with this. Right, because actually let's copy the whole thing. I'm going to add to my web page. Let's just add it here. See what happens. Make sure you tab it correctly. Go back to my web. And oh yeah, it did. They're very, very much on the bottom there. It's tiny, but it did have the controls there. So that makes sense. All right. Let's see. Another example of different controls, an elevated button, a text field. I am kind of curious, like I know how a text field looks, but what is a elevated button? Let's just change these out. Oh, and it pasted horribly. All right. You're about to complain about tabs versus spaces, so we will redo it like that. It's very cool that this is, compiling the Python code and just outputting it to web. And elevated button. I guess maybe it's kind of a little 3D. It's a text field. Text field looks very nice. All right, yeah, this is all cool. Some controls like buttons can have event handlers. So adding the click right there, and you just write a Python method for it. Again, that makes sense. More advanced example, they have a little to-do app where you add def add collect. Yeah, you know what? Let's just let's copy this whole app. Why not? Get rid of what we have there now. And we'll keep the title. But we'll do this. So this has a text field, and it's adding to the page a new row, the text field, and a little button. And let's see what that add logic does. Go back here, type some stuff in, hit add, and look at that, just added it to the bottom. Let's look at, I want to look at that a little bit closer. So yeah, it added to the page a checkbox where the value is what I had in the text field. That makes sense. I'm assuming I would have to do some kind of logic to handle what happens when it gets too long. Heck, let's break it and see what happens. I'm just going to keep adding stuff, and this is going to take a while. There's no logic for the text, so all right, I just did that. And this should go off screen. Yeah, that's not surprising at all. So I probably need some way to manage that viewport, but I will worry about that later. Controls have a visible property, which is true by default. Again, that kind of makes sense. You can set it to false to hide it. Controls can be disabled, which is nice. So you can imagine basic form handling logic of some sort where you disable a button until they have done what's necessary. Button is the most essential input control, which generates a click event when pressed. No big surprise. And so we already talked about event handlers. That made sense. So like when you define a button, you then define the event handlers for it. Again, all this is simple. Text boxes we get, check boxes and drop downs. I wonder if they have any. You know what I'm not seeing here. I'm not seeing date fields. Not seeing other type of custom controls. Like I'm not seeing radio buttons. Does checkbox perhaps have an option to let you switch to radio? Let's click to go into the controls. Or actually, I can see the navigation. Yeah, bam. They have a radio control as well. All right, so they were just showing a couple of examples. So, ooh, a Cupertino checkbox. It's a checkbox you pay more for, right? How is that different? Oh, okay, they have material Cupertino. Okay. I wonder what the live example does. Hmm. All right, so oh, they have charts. That's kind of cool. Animations, utilities, file picker, which is nice. Geolocator, that's pretty cool. All right, so I think we almost know enough to be dangerous, right? So text field, basic properties. You could do password, multi-line, so that's text area. So the question is do we have a date field or a calendar control? Is there a search on here? Yeah. Date field? Date field? Date time picker? Date picker. Where I did not go over it because it was in dialogues, alerts, and panels. Material style date picker dialog. Nice. Oh, it must open up a thing. Okay. All right. So let's plot this out. Right. So I am going to actually change my title to say what it is. Def clock. I'm gonna do a multi-line comment. Oops. Single quotes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And so, and you know what, for the heck of it, let's open up the existing application. So I want to have a field that says enter your date, your birthday, date of birth, a date picker field, a gender dropdown, and a button to start it. And then beneath that, that's where the timer display will go. So just playing around, I see that we can add rows. So I probably want a row for the controls on top, and then a row for my renderer. So let's do this. I will say label field equals FT text field. No, not text field because you're not entering it. We need too many windows. Come back. It was not layout. Where are the basic things? I am getting too crazy. Yes. Flet controls, text. There we go. All right, so FT text. And we will say value equals enter your date of birth. Colon. All right. So we have a label field. And let's just start adding our stuff here. And we're going to have more, but this should at least add it on top. And then enter your date of birth. Yes, and that's kind of small, but hopefully that's readable. Again, let me know in the comments if we can't read this. So the next thing I'm going to do is that date picker. And I should have stayed where I was. Date picker. There we go. And I guess I need to import date time. Sure. I will do that. Import date time. And then we will add, it's based on a button with the label pick date, and give it an icon. And then when you click it, it opens the date picker. First date, last date, on change, handle dismissal. All right, I don't think I want all of this, but we will just copy it and see what happens. I feel like my event handler should go on top just to kind of separate them a little bit. Move this down here, and let's store all of this, and we'll call it the DOB. It's a button. Yep, DOB button equals. And so what that reads to is a new elevated button, which I think is a 3D button. Pick date will be the label. I have an icon, and then I'm specifying my event handler to set two values, first date and last date, which I'm not going to need. But again, I'm not going to fret. And then this is just appending to the page, which we don't want, but we can get rid of that. All right, so if we save it and see what happens, nothing happens. I got some warnings. Got no errors. Let's go back. Heck, open up browser console, see what it says. Says nothing. I did save this. Oh, nice. I didn't actually add it to the page. So we will add DOB button. All right, look at that. Pick date. And oh, that's really, really nice. So I wonder what the last date is. All right, we'll just set go ahead and pick 2000, October 3rd. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what the last date is supposed to mean. Oh, it's the range. Oh, okay. Oh God. Well, we got to make this support everybody. So we'll see 1900 to today. So I can make this dynamic, but I'll do that later. Make it set to today, or actually, let's take it out and see what it does. So now it should support me actually picking my real ancient day, and it goes in the future, which I don't want, but we can worry about that later. And yay, I can go all the way back. So I can pick a date in the past. All right. So far, so good. So far, so good. So we have a date. And I actually don't want to add anything to the page. Instead, I want to just keep that value. So you can't have a blank thing. Let's just return. Can't have empty methods. Um, I want to keep a variable. So we will say DOB equals blank. And we'll instead say DOB E control that value and just the value itself. I don't need to format it or anything. I don't think. So now what I need is the gender dropdown. I feel like I'm skipping over a lot of important steps, but probably not. Input selection, dropdown. We have a dropdown M2, whatever that means. So let's see. FT drop down. This feels overly complex because I don't need a function for options. All I need is male and female. So let's copy this and keep on working with my list of stuff here. All right, let's get this tabbed over. We don't want it to be editable. We want it to be gender and options. I'm guessing we'll take an array. I'll say male, female, and I don't need an on change because all I need to do is get the value from it. So whenever I do my def clock thing, we'll call this gender DD. Gender drop down. And let's see what the heck happened. String object has no attribute build add command. So did you not like it when I added it or how I defined it? Well, let's add it again. String object has no attribute. So maybe when I defined my options, drop down with icons. No, I just really want, oh, you do have to, oh, okay. All right, you have to specify a drop, it's an object. Okay, with a key and content. Okay, so it's, they should really just support a simpler one like that, but we will do that like they want. That's not tabbed very well, but all right. So we have a drop down. The key will be, we'll use lowercase, and the value will be uppercase, and color, no. And fix my syntax error. So in theory, this should give us one drop down. Should compile now. Yep. It's not it to be a little bit bigger, but that's all right. We'll fix that in a second. So that is one drop down. So let's add one more for female. Like that. We'll key it to FE, text equals FE male, save it, and bam. Yeah, and we can worry about making that bigger. I'm kind of curious. Can I do width equals 200? It's totally guessing here. Yeah, look at that. I love it when I could guess stuff. All right, so we'll make that 150. I gotta tell you, this is a very pleasurable experience in terms of how this works. Yeah, so the next thing we need is our button. All right, so I will add, I'll say do it button. That's a horrible name. We'll use elevated button. What did I call it in the app? Show def clock. All right, show def clock. I will add I'll add an event handler in a second. But let's just add it to my row. And bam, I typoed clock, but that's all right. All right, so in theory, oh, I did not see you there. A little bit late, Bavesh, but late is okay. Welcome. Um, things we still need to do, and in fact, let's put a little note here. Need to make this disabled until DOB is picked. Well, we can do that later. So, and then theory, when you click the do it button, I do the math, right? And then I show a number. So let's try this. Let's maybe just have clicking the button just shows a number 1 or something like that. So we will have def calculate DC for, def clock. Returns are necessary, but you have to have one line at least. Figure out how many seconds. So what we'll do is we will, let me slow down. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to add a new row with a field for my seconds. So I'll call it seconds field, which doesn't exist. This field will be blank until, I actually make it. We called it seconds field, and the value is X seconds left to live, ... So we're going to go ahead and add this, but we're going to make it visible equals false. So this is on the page, but not visible. I can confirm. Cool. And now when you click it, on click equals, and what did I call the handler? Calculate DC. Calculate DC. And now calculate DC is going to find that field after it does the match, the stuff. Seconds field visible equals true. This is working really, really well, actually. I'm surprised. So click. Nope. Click. Seconds field calculate. I wonder what happens if I print, if it'll show in terminal. Testing. There's my terminal down here. Let's click a couple times. Did you show up? It did. That's nice, handy for debugging. So question is like, why, if I'm making it visible, why is it not showing up? Let's do two things. Let's make it visible, which is not working, and change the value, modified value. And let's ensure that we can change. Maybe there's something special you do when you change UI controls. We'll go ahead and make this visible by default. Come back in, and there it is showing up. If I click, aha, yeah, you see nothing is changing. So I bet if you modify a UI control of some sort, you need to, I don't know, tell it to refresh or something. Let's try search. Refresh UI. That's not exactly what we're doing. Let's try Google. Why not? So Flet changed button label not working. So first initialize it. There it is. Update within if a button is inside a column, row, or container, and our button is inside a row, our field is, updating the label may require updating the parent as well. So how do you update? Oh, container.update and the page. Okay. Um, let's try just page.update, see what happens. Page.update. I'd be willing to bet. Yeah, with them showing container updates, I bet you can be more performant by recognizing that you only need to change one row. That means there's less work. I'm not going to prematurely optimize. Not going to do that. Sorry, am I late? Can you sort? Yes, actually. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Scott. So let's see if this works. If I click, yes, it modified. We'll go back. We'll go ahead and make it hidden by default. And now it should show up and actually change the value as well. And click, boom, there we go. And like I said, this idea of only updating the UI that you care about, that is awesome. I don't think I need to worry about it for this particular thing. So we are down to just a few minutes. Let me stop working on the web and actually run it as a desktop app just to kind of see what we have so far. And this would be probably a great stopping point because literally at this point, God, that runs fast. I'm really shocked. Yeah, look at that. And I love that I get those debug messages in my terminal. So at this point, if I don't worry about validation, literally it's going to be Python date logic. And like, that's it. And I will also need to figure out how to do a interval. And if I was smart, and I'm not terribly smart, but to do .text, this will be for next time. So what did I just say? I literally forgot everything. So on click, do real date logic to get the seconds. Show the seconds in that field I made. All right. And 3, figure out how to do a interval so you can reduce the seconds. And then 4, depending on time, form logic, make the button disabled until a date that's picked, because does the drop down defaults to nothing till the date plus gender is picked. We can also say fix date UI to not allow for the future. And I never did this with the last one, but if seconds equals 0, show message about death. Wonderful. I think that's it. I think that is it. So I will remove that and bring y'all back over here. First off, thank y'all so much for showing up. I appreciate it. I will say we should be exactly 2 weeks from today. Let me double check. Yes, so June 24th, Tuesday, 12 p.m. We will continue working on this Flet application. I don't think I ever put the last code in my GitHub repo. I'll try to do that. I'll also try to get this in there. 1 hour of building, I really, really like this more than I did Tori. Everything just feels like it's moving a lot quicker, and it just feels cooler. If I'm allowed to say things are cool, of course I am. So, thank you, everybody. Again, I really appreciate your time and attention and all that. I really hope I see y'all next time. And be safe and be good to each other. Bye.